What's up everyone, welcome back to another FPL video. I've got some of your teams. We're going to talk through the pros, the cons, what I like and what I don't like, so let's get straight into it. What is up everyone, welcome back. FPL Tits Harry here, or welcome to another video. So as I said, I've asked for a few of your teams over on Twitter. I will do this again and again between now and the start of the season to get a few different perspectives to talk about your team. So go and check it out over on there and make sure you're ready for the next time I do this if your team is not included this time. It's not just going to be, oh, do I like this team or do I not? I'm going to use it as an opportunity now that we're all diving into the games to talk about a few players that are in some of these teams that aren't, the way some of them are structured. So hopefully even if your team's not in here, it can really help you in picking your teams when considering players and considering the way you should line up for your team. So as we've got here, we'll talk through the positives, negatives and give them an overall score from 1 to 10 depending on how I like them and how I think they do this season. So the first team we've got is from Prajwal D over on Twitter. Thank you everyone who sent them in. There were a lot of support, but we've picked a select few out for this video. So I do like this video to start off. The starting lineup stands out as looking strong. We've got Ayling on the bench there. We've got Henderson in goal. Worth noting who starts for Man U. We think it will be Henderson, but it could be De Gea occasionally. In terms of the positives and what I like about this team, it's really balanced. I think there's a really nice strong starting 11, whereas you've also got players on the bench. You've got Basuma and you've got Ayling. If you watch my top 5 tips from for FPL that came out on Friday, you will know how important it is to have a balanced team, and this has done that. You know, there are 3 strong defenders who have clean sheet and attacking potential. You've got good strong midfield with strong forwards in there and a strong bench as well. The players that you've gone a bit differential I do like, so the likes of Grealish, Iheanacho, Cavani, all low owned but a good returners of points, and as I said, those attacking defenders I do really like. In terms of the negatives, you've only really got one captain, so one of the points I pulled out in that previous video, I won't spoil it all for you if you haven't watched it, but it is to have more than one reliable captaincy option. And at the moment, to me, it looks just like Salah in this team to put the armband on. You could put it on Grealish, Mahrez, Iheanacho, Calvert-Lewin occasionally, but it isn't very reliable and I wouldn't trust it to do it regularly. So I would like another big hitter in this team to sort of make it that 1 point higher up on the ranking. There are some players that have potentially difficult opening fixtures. There are, Leeds are okay to have double of them. West Ham, we don't know quite how they're going to react to the Champions League, to having Europa League football. Chelsea, although they have a good one opening fixture and they are good defensively, are their better defences that we could go after. So I think it's just worth considering form versus fixtures to start the season, and there are a couple of rotation prone players in the starting 11. So we've got Cavani, he's not going to start every game for Manchester United, and Mahrez of Man City again is not going to start every game. Chilwell, let's wait and see what happens with Chelsea signing defenders. He should be there every single game, but Mahrez and Cavani both in the starting 11 with Iheanacho as well. Now Iheanacho has a competition from Vardy and potentially signing new strikers as well at Leicester, so 2, maybe 3 of them are potential rotation risks, but the rest of the team I do really like. I gave this team an 8 out of 10. The negatives I'm pulling on are pretty sort of minimal. I would like another captaincy option when looking at this team. So someone like Kane, even it's Son, Fernandes, Rashford, someone like this that you can be a bit more certain on putting that armband on. But I do like this team. So yeah, congratulations, 8 out of 10 for the first one. Next up, we have this team from Joe Tubsy on Twitter. Again, thank you everyone who sent them in. To start off, I like it. There's more of that balance. We've got Salah and Fernandes. So where in the last team, I wanted more captaincy option, this team has got it for me. So Salah, Fernandes, I like. And then elsewhere in there, we've got Calvert-Lewin again. Ollie Watkins, who has a great few opening fixtures, but the bench maybe not nearly as strong as it could be. So, as I said, positives, good captaincy option. There's no real weak link in the starting lineup. I don't look at the lineup and think, oh, you have to play that player every week. The defence is strong. Fofana at 4.5 million is great value. The midfield, Pepe, Havertz, if they're your cup of tea, if they're your differentials, then go for it. Probably not players that I'd potentially pick, and then Tony, you've got players that I'd be happy to play in my team every week. And the cheap beasts that you've gone with in sort of Fofana and Tony in your starting 11 are really nice options. They're a good way to allow you to stretch budget. So yeah, I like them as well. In terms of the negatives, a lot of it comes down to the bench. So you've got Siriata, Bissouma and Williams. Now, if Williams gets his move to Southampton, it does strengthen the bench a little bit. So keep an eye on that. But even if he does, that bench is a little bit strong. Let's see if we can get, I don't know, a 0.5 on the bench to upgrade Siriata to someone a bit more reliable. There's also a few unproven players in this team. So we do have Havertz. He has, scored some goals in the Euros. He did score a goal in the Champions League final. But he has had a lot of time at Chelsea that he hasn't done maybe what we expected him to. So, and then Tony, I tend to not always go for newly promoted players because although they did well in the Championship, coming into the Premier League is a very different beast. So let's see what happens with them. And Pepe, he finished the season very well. I really like him as an option, but I'd probably want either him or Havertz. I don't necessarily think I want Pepe, Havertz and Tony all in my team. But the final one is that Liverpool have the nicest run of opening fixtures. I wouldn't want to go into the start of the season with just Salah. Everyone will have Salah and everyone will be looking to captain Salah in their opening few games. So you're not going to gain any ground by doing that. And I think you'll be setting yourself off on the back foot by only having one. So whether it's a Jota in midfield, for example, over Havertz, or you go to a 4 at the back and you go Trent in there or Robertson, I do think it's worth trying to find another Liverpool player. So with that in mind, I've given this a 7 with a few little tweaks, like maybe not going for those quite so sort of differential players you've got in there, although they could return. Starting the season safe is the best way to go, so you don't start the season behind. So a 7 out of 10, but definitely a good start. Next up, we have the team sent in by Rover FPL. Now, I look at this straight away. First impressions, it looks really good. We've got Salah in there. We've got Liverpool defence. We've got triple Liverpool, which is something that I mentioned that I wanted in the previous team more so than we had before. So yeah, I really like that. Look at the bench and I see quite a lot of money being spent there and maybe not as many premium. But in terms of the positives, triple Liverpool straight away, like that much more. Great opening fixtures for their first couple and then their sort of first 6 as well. They're ranking really high up the rankings, so very happy to see that. And then the captain on Salah as well. Double defence I also really like, so I see people going for the likes of Jota or Mane alongside Salah, but with Van Dijk and maybe Gomez, Matip or the new signings coming in to go into the centre-back, the defensive will be more assured, especially with Fabinho going back into the midfield as well, alongside hopefully a fully fit Jordan Henderson for them. So this will mean that one, there's more clean sheet potential, but also with the centre-backs being more solid and then being able to rely on them a bit more, Trent and Robertson will be able to get further forward than they have done for the sort of second half of the season. So I actually think their attacking output will go up as well as their defensive output. So I also just think this team is full of a lot of quality options, but it's a bit of a positive and a negative. Every player in the starting 11 is really good, and I wouldn't have a problem with you picking any of these. And even looking at the bench, you've got some really nice options, but it kind of moves me on to the negatives that it's kind of a bit too balanced. It's over invested. So again, something I spoke about in my top 5 tips video from Friday, worth looking if you haven't watched it. Rafinha, Harrison, Lamptey all on your bench, having to decide which of them to play each and every week is just too much. And because of that, you really only have one sort of nailed on captaincy option. So Salah every week, you could captain Trent, but when you own Salah as well, you're never going to put it on him. So trying to find money to upgrade Greenwood, for example, who I don't love because he's a bit rotation prone. Finding money to upgrade Greenwood to Rashford or to Bruno Fernandes is definitely the way to go. And given the players that you've got in your squad, the likes of Maddison could be downgraded. You only maybe, given that starting fixtures, need one of the Leeds midfielders in Rafinha and Harrison. So downgrading them to a 4.5 midfielder, one of them, upgrade Greenwood to Rashford, for example, and then you have a really, really strong team to go in with. So I like it a lot, but it is just too much of a sort of plain sailing team, and it needs a few more of those sort of punchy punchy premiums, I think. So I've given this team an 8 out of 10 overall, with a few of those tweaks. You know, Harrison down, for example, and Greenwood up, it would make a big difference, and this team would be starting to score sort of 9 or 10 out of 10. So really nice start. Batsman in goal, I think there's maybe other 4.5 goalkeepers like Sanchez that I'd prefer slightly, but that's sort of personal preference. Next up, we have this team sent in by Blue Nix 99. So looking at it straight away, there are some picks in here which I haven't seen very much. So actually, Fernandes we haven't seen loads of, but De Bruyne and Kane are in this team. So I like that, and you've got Salah in there as well. So Kane is a player that I personally haven't picked in my drafts yet, but I can see why a lot of people will, and they're similar to De Bruyne. I just think that their price is a little bit too much to be paying. Kane at 12.5 million, do we expect him to have the same output as he did last season? Actually, in the second half of the season, he wasn't as good as he was in the first half, so it's been a while since he's performed quite as strong. Their opening fixture is against Man City. It does get a bit easier after that, but I just prefer, for example, Salah, Fernandes, that, you know, give you slightly more points for every goal, and you get those clean sheet points. But it's personal preference about which of those premiums you want. So in terms of the positives, there are 4 premium attackers in this team. Amazing if you can fit them in. And the defenders that you've gone in to try and stretch that budget, I do like. You've picked good ones. Burnley, Wolves, Leeds are good defences to have. At 4.5, they're really nice options. Brighton in goal, I really like. But the problem is with this team is it's just really unbalanced. There's too much being focused on those 4 premiums. So if you could manage to get them in and make it still work, then great. But I don't think it's possible, and I don't think this team has done it. So, for example, you've got Gilmour there starting each and every week. A 4.5 midfielder starting every week you don't want. If Williams gets his move, then you could potentially rotate them, but either way it's not good, and it's not what you want to be doing. One Liverpool again, their starting fixtures, I'd want more than that. This team has tried to do too much. You need to choose one of those 4 premiums to get rid of and change it around. So if you did, for example, De Bruyne down to a 4.5, or any of them down to a 4.5, then you can get Trent into your defence and upgrade Gilmour to a sort of 6 million, 7 million midfielder. The team would have so much more balance than it does already. If you don't want Trent, for example, then De Bruyne, down to a 6.5 mil mid, Gilmour upgrade, for example, and then you have a 3-5-2 again. But this team is just too unbalanced. It's focused very much on those 4 key players that it doesn't give you enough returns elsewhere, that you're relying on them. You can actually only captain one of them each week, so you don't want to have 4 of them because you're not getting as much bang for your buck as some people might say. So I like what's been tried to do with this team, and try and pick good cheap options as that has been done in the defence to stretch the budget, but it's just a bit too much. So I have given this team a 6 out of 10. It needs a little bit of work ahead of the game week 1 deadline, which is a way off, but yeah, not a great team for me, this one. And finally, we have our final team, and I look at this straight away and it starts to have the things that we've finally been talking about. So it's got a strong enough bench if Williams gets his move. Rafinha on the bench at the moment for the first game and can rotate in with Saka. And then Davies on the bench as well, just to sit there. And the starting 11 looks really nice. Triple Liverpool, which I wanted. Luka Dean, Luke Shaw, some great attacking defenders with cheap budget options in Fofana and Sanchez. I think this team has a lot of positives. So it's really balanced. The starting 11 is really nice. The bench is strong enough to cover when you need it, but it's not got too much on it that it's coming a pain every week that you don't know who to start. Rafinha and Saka, as I said, can rotate. A combination of safe picks with a few differentials. So the likes of Iheanacho is a bit of a differential. Saka, maybe not one I'd pick, but go for it. Go for the pick that you want. A nice differential, can rotate, some nice opening fixtures, and works quite well with the Leeds player in Rafinha and Antonio in there as well. So I like the differentials we've got. Good captaincy options. You've got Salah and Fernandes, both of which you can put the captaincy armband on. So I really like that. The negative, the only real one I can pull out, is I don't love Saka as an option. I think at other points in 6 to 6.5, maybe a West Ham midfielder, or look elsewhere. For example, the Brentford midfielder, Mbeumo, who's sort of playing on the wing for them, potentially could be a better option. Or you go for a 4-3-3 and get another forward in and sell Davies to go for like Ivan Toney or someone like that. I don't love Saka, but that's about all I could find. I spent, you know, time trying to find negatives so I could talk through them, but it's just not really there for this team. So I've given it a 9 out of 10 because Williams at the moment doesn't have it. So actually at the moment there's only one player on the bench who's going to get any minutes. Saka will be the one on the bench and I don't love him. So that's why it hasn't got a 10 out of 10. If the bench was, you know, Saka maybe downgrade slightly to a 6 mil and then Williams to a 4.5 defender, it would have got the 10 out of 10 from Marky 1999. So a great way to end. I hope this video has covered some points that you can take into your team, you know, to make sure it's as balanced as possible. Have some of those premiums in there. Pick a few differentials that you like. It's always worth having early on to try and get that little bit of an edge over others. But I hope it's useful. There's plenty more videos to come, as I always say, between now and the start of the season. There's a league code just below me. Make sure you go and join that before the season starts. There'll be prizes to give out all the way through the season, and these videos, as always, are sponsored by Fantasy Football Hub, which are having a massive 30% off between now and the 3rd of July. There's a link in the description if you're interested in stats and stuff to make up your decisions. It's what I use, it's what's helped me get the finishes that I have recently, so go and check them out. But yeah, subscribe, turn on notifications. There'll be plenty more videos coming between now and the start of the season. Like if you have enjoyed, and I will see you all very soon.